Hey, Crazy Biker here. Today we're doing a wheel bearing on a 1997 Pontiac Bonneville. First step, you're going to want to get it jacked up and get the wheel off. Okay. Yeah, that's bad. Put it down there. Doing a tire rotation. I'll get that out of the way. Okay, so first step after you got the wheel off, you're going to take a 3/8 Allen wrench or hex socket for the brake caliper. You don't need a monster ratchet like this. These bolts aren't that tight. Okay, and I kind of cock my socket to the side and pull out on it. That's definitely out. Bottom. You just saw me whack the ratchet there. It's all personal preference. I heard that can cause carpal tunnel over time. So keep that in mind. You can smack it with a hammer. I like to smack it with the handle on the hammer, not the actual one. Not the actual hammer itself. Okay, got that loose. Okay, I'm gonna get a little bit of a pry bar. Screwdrivers are not pry bars. Okay, just prying against the rotor. Careful, you can score up your pads this way. I just compressed the caliper a little bit there. And what do we got? Rear pad is connected to the caliper. It's all moving. I should just be able to... My slider's in the way. Hold on. Yeah. Slider's in the way. Gotta pull it out pretty far actually. I'm gonna go ahead and just take the bolt, lay it on the ground in an orientation where I can tell which one was on top, which one was on bottom. So a lot of the time it really does matter. And you're not really gonna notice when you go to install it. In my case, they are the same, but I'm still putting them in the same spot. It comes right off now. Some people don't like to hang the caliper on the brake line just like that. I just gauge it by how heavy the caliper is. Like there's some trucks that I would never do that. Sometimes this will be stuck on, and in that case, I smack right here, here. I keep spinning it, and it should break loose eventually, but be careful. Don't smack your studs. If you do, you'll have to look up another video on how to install them. Usually just 2 washers and a lug nut, and you just load it up with grease. I wouldn't use an impact though, I would do it by hand, and I would re-torque that lug nut after your next drive. Okay, next step, I'm gonna take my screwdriver. Mangle the shit out of this. Sweet. I can just bend that back a little bit. Holds on pretty good. Unplug your ABS sensor. Isolate the wire so that it's not gonna get fucked up. I'm gonna leave my tie rod in. Sometimes it can help a lot to just take it out. But I'm gonna go flip the ignition forward to the accessory mode, and that'll let me play around with this by hand. I got the other wheel off the ground, so there's not much resistance. Also helps that my battery's disconnected. This way I can just do whatever. Oh, I like that. I didn't notice. But the bolts come from the front side. They got this nice hole right here. You just rotate it, and that's a, looks like a Torx 50. Torx 55. Like how I said 50 and I grabbed the 55. Since I don't have a torque wrench really for this, I'm gonna mark it. So right there. Excellent. Okay, now for your axle nut. Yeah, this part could be hard if you don't have an impact. What you're gonna do is grab a really long bar, put it in here. Oh, this one's pretty sweet, actually. I can put the bar right here, and it'll butt up against the caliper bracket there. Not every car has this design. Usually the bracket unbolts as well as the caliper, but I'm lucky in this case, I guess. So you would stick a strong, like this screwdriver would probably break. I need a pretty big bar. I'm just gonna hit this with my impact. It's probably, it looks like a 34, 35. Okay. Yep. It's a 34, but I only have a 35 socket. But when you get up to this size, it's not a huge issue. If it was a smaller nut and you were a couple mil off, you'd probably round the nut. Okay, got my nice handy dandy impact. And give her hell. Yeah, hot. That's one hot nut. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. If you don't have an impact, this will probably take a while. Okay, make sure your axle moves. Oh, yes, it does. Okay, now I got my socket. Get her in there nice. I like to put the tools that actually fit on what I'm working with on the right side, and I'll put tools that I grabbed by accident on the left. Alright. Pretty tight. Wow, everybody's out enjoying the weather. It's only plus 23. It's probably like 80 Fahrenheit or something. I'm not entirely sure. Okay, come on. Cool. So it seems like there's this washer here that won't even fit through the hole. You have to go like that when you install it. I assume all the bolts are going to be the same. There's 3, one down here. Don't forget to just subscribe if you like the video. I make them all the time. Grab the washer from behind. There we go. I like to compare bolts. Yeah, same height and everything. I highly doubt that they'd be any difference on a wheel bearing, but I think it's a good habit to get into. I'm gonna grab an extension for this one there. Yeah. Alright. Okay. Careful when you're using an extension on any bolt, because the force you're putting down is going to try to cock it, and you can round bolts that way. But I got this flexi head. I'm going to push the button and line up my handle with the bolt. Oh, that's a bit far. That way it won't cock it. Ugh. plate starting to come out. This backing plate keeps rocks out of your brakes. Okay, there we go. And backing plate. All 3 bolts go through this. Don't forget how it goes. I hate when you're done a job and then you realize you're not done. Alright, now my favorite part. I'm going to turn it. Actually, I'll go get my hammer. Heavier hammer is more effective.
If you have to smack this hard at all, make sure you put the nut on to the point where it's flush with the axle, and that way you'll fix it when you take the nut off.
Okay. I didn't want that to stay in. Okay, let's get the new bearing. I think that piece is supposed to come out. But if the new one comes with one, then I'm just gonna exterminate. Well, what do you know? It comes with it. So, I'm gonna take the biggest pry bar I can find. Basically. Came out easy. Come on. There we go. Perfect. I went up to that corner. Perfect. So for those of you that don't know, this is your ABS sensor, and there's what's called a tone ring in here. And it has the little magnets on it that pass by the sensor, and they tell the vehicle's computer how fast you're going. And if it sees a set of variables that aren't physically possible, i.e. your wheel locking up, it cuts your brakes until it catches up to the speed of the other wheels. I'll just put it together, so I doubt that works now. Got this beautiful wheel bearing here. In town, they were quoting me a ridiculous amount of money, $250. Found this online, a lot cheaper. But anyways, I didn't see an O-ring on this one. Oh well. Okay, get her on, line up the splines, gently persuade it, not hurt the ABS wire. It's weird how that's there. Okay, well, maybe if I tap this. Okay, there we go. The axle went on a little bit more. Backing plate first. Okay, there we go. Bolt, take off the washer. It goes bolt, washer, backing plate. Don't put the washers under the backing plate. Take my socket as a screwdriver. Line up the hole. This part, you can't just put one bolt in all the way and expect it to work. One turn, one turn, one turn, one turn, one turn, one turn. Bolt, put through the washer, then the backing plate, then the hub, then the spindle. Do not cross thread these. It comes with a new clip anyway, so it's okay that I broke that one. Last bolt. My nice socket and my nice hammer. Just having problems getting through the backing plate there. Know what you're doing. Closely, see if it's pinching the wire. It couldn't hurt to just put this up there right now. Alright, back to Torx. starting to get hard. I guess it was caulking it. If I didn't say it already, this is probably my favorite bearing design out of all of them. Easiest to change. It starts to get hard. Switch to the easiest one. That O-ring still doesn't make sense to me. It wasn't on the factory one. But doesn't seem to be, it's not getting crushed or anything. And that'll seal, it'll prevent water from getting in there, and that'll help. Sometimes bearings are real bitch to get out. If you watch my 2004 Saturn video, wheel bearings, that was terrible. Ugh. Okay, so I'm not exactly sure what the torque is on these, so I'm just gonna quickly look that up for you guys. Okay, so these bolts are 96 foot-pounds, so not even as tight as your lug nuts on your wheel. And for the axle nut, it's 159 foot-pounds. Since I marked it, I will just put the nut on, put it where it was. It'll go on a lot easier than it came off. I could have made it a whole lot tighter than it is, but I trust that 100%.
When you're putting your brakes back on, you can put a nut on the lower stud, and that'll hold the disc rotor flat against, and it's easier to line up your sliders. Also, the sliders could be poking through a little bit too far, and you won't be able to screw them in. And just not too tight on these, just as tight as you found them.
Okay, so put on a wheel. First, you're going to need a wheel, and I'll put my one hand here, 1 foot here. Look at the nuts. I got one right at the top. Okay, I lift it with my foot, and perfect. Push it in with my knees. So I always do the bottom nut first, so that when you let it go, it pushes all the other studs out, so it's easier. I'm not going to be able to torque this wheel yet. The wheel torque is 100 foot-pounds for these, and I will never mess around with the lug nut torques. Always do exactly torque that it asks for. Cool. That's not fully tight. Get the rest with the torque wrench once I let it down, but I've got a bunch of other work to do, so I'm going to leave it for now.